Pastor Josh, where are we, man? You know, we're at Sage Hills Church in the gymnasium, a place that I think is familiar to you and has some history with you. So bring me up to speed, man. Tell me what this place and this space means to you.
Dude, this is home.
Yeah, man.
This is where I spent the first 20 years of my life, man. As you know, my dad was pastor at Wenatchee Methodist Church at the time. For 11 years, I was on staff for 3. I mean, I've lost track of how many games of pig and horse I played on that basketball hoop.
How many of you won?
Not many.
I thought so.
Pastor Kent won most of them. Or
Yeah,
Adam.
for sure.
I mean, that stage right there is where I led worship for the first time from the piano, formative days through high school. That room right there is where I learned to teach the Bible. As a youth pastor, taught through the Gospel of Matthew and the book of Romans. Apologies, my kids are 3 years to the book of Romans. And yeah, man, it's like this room is where I grew up. I can remember coming here as a kid, and Dad would be working late, and me and my brother and some friends would, play wiffle ball in here, volleyball, kick stuff off the walls. And this is part of my childhood, part of my story. My grandpa, I don't know if any of you know this, my grandpa walked the property with Don Smith and a bunch of the old guys back in the day, walked this property and made the decision to purchase it because you guys were down at Peachy Street, Mission Peachy there. But the one concern they had about this property?
What's that?
It was too far out of town. It used to be in the county.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were like, are people going to drive all the way up 5th Street to go all the way out to the county and the country to go to this church? And
Josh, put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what year that was that they walked the property and prayed?
I mean, I'd have to look. I talked to Grandpa, I want to say 50s or 60s.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd have that. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But my grandpa was a younger man. I wasn't born yet, of course. He was on the board with Don Smith and a bunch of those guys, and Phil Rogers was connected to the orchard here, and they found it, and it was, I don't know, what is it, 7, 8 acres, whatever, and they were like, we could buy it, but it's so far out of town.
Wow.
No, it's of course right across the street from a JUCO. Pretty cool.
Incredible. It's incredible.
Yep.
It's also incredible to hear how this church has impacted you.
Oh, my gosh.
And the men and the women that are part of this church have impacted you. And I'd just be curious to hear a little bit about that.
Oh, well, you did the funeral for Steve Johnson a few weeks ago, and that was one of many men and his wife Jackie that really shaped, I think, my life. This is my home church, where I grew up. This church for me defined what church was. This church defined for me how the gospel interacts with the community, and I mean, it's a little hard not to get emotional thinking about what the Lord did here in my life during these days. So many sweet people, so many dear memories that were formative for me and my family, and shaping how I view the world, how I view the gospel, how I view the church, how I view a community. And so when I think of Sage Hills, it's just with extraordinary warm memories. And then, my dad was pastor. I was pastor for a while. Lord led us to step out and then prayerfully consider, planting Grace City Church. Planting Grace City Church. I've been doing that for 10 years. When I think about who Grace City Church is and who we're endeavoring to be, I mean, just unquestionably shaped by my time here at Wenatchee Methodist Church, now Sage Hills. And but I mean, that's my history. How do you get to Wenatchee? Who are you? Where'd you come from? I mean, SoCal boy, end up in the center of the state of Washington, backwater, blue-collar town. Why, when, how did you get here?
First, as I hear you talk about this concept of legacy and nostalgia, it really, in a weird way, and this word gets destroyed by people all the time, so I don't want to go too far, but it truly is an honor to be a part of a movement of God that's been carried way before me and will, glory be to God, be carried way after me. But I get part of this 110-year-old movement.
Oh, dude.
And it's just,
that's amazing.
It's a weight that is just unbelievable.
Don't mess it up.
Yeah, seriously.
They made it this far, okay?
Sleepless nights. And trust me, many days I was like, oh, Lord.
If they don't make it any further, we'll know what happened.
Yeah, so when I was 9 years old, my mom started taking me to a Free Methodist church in Southern California, a town called Rancho Cucamonga.
Wow.
And I went there, and that church was just, you talk about how you cut your teeth in ministry here.
Yep.
That's where I cut my teeth. I didn't even know what Free Methodism was, didn't even learn that till I was like 17.
Yeah.
But realized that if I was going to give my life in service to the Lord, I wanted to do it under the umbrella of a movement who showed me what ministry was all about.
Yep.
And I remember clearly being at an ordination service for the Free Methodist Church and saying, I want to do that. And so I've been serving the Free Methodist Church because I believe God's called me to it for the last, 17, 18 years as a pastor.
But how'd you get to Wenatchee?
Yeah, and so as I'm serving in this movement at a church in Southern California called Centerpoint, we got a call about a church that needed a lead pastor, that they were in transition, and at first it was like, there's just no way in the world. I was so happy in Southern California. I'm not Pacific Northwest. I don't like winter. Josh is now teaching me how to shoot a gun. Like,
You gotta help the boy out.
yeah, you got to help me out. Like, I'm thinking about getting a truck. It's all happening.
Major sanctification.
It's happening.
Thanks be to God.
And so, we did commit to coming to a visit, my wife and I.
Yeah.
And while we were praying, even about the visit, God had begun to work on my wife's heart, just saying, like, I don't know what it is, but I just think God is in it for us at Wenatchee. And we visited, and we fell in love with this community, with these people, with this town, and just decided, like, listen, I want to be part of a legacy movement, and this is a legacy movement in a legacy town filled with legacy pastors, and I give thanks to God for that, for being here. And being a part of it.
What drew you specifically to Sage Hills? What about the people, the place, the mission were you attracted to, and that you have, as you look back, you've appreciated?
Yeah, believe it or not, the first thing that drew me to the church was its legacy. Is this idea that, like, wait a second, like, because there was opportunities for me to go into these younger churches, but it's like there's a much higher likelihood that I could just blow up a place like that. You know what I mean? But like, it's like, God, if you've survived this church through like, I don't know, like
you're gonna stick with her.
Wars,
Totally.
Governmental transitions.
2 world wars.
Yeah, 2 world wars.
Yeah.
I almost said the Civil War, but that wouldn't be
would've been
quite
a
there.
little further
a
back,
little
but
further
yeah.
back. But like, I just felt like this place had legacy. But what the word the Lord gave me when I first started coming here was just like that He who began the good work would be faithful to bring it into completion.
Amen.
And that the reality was that the best days of this church could be before it.
Yep.
If we would get on mission, if we'd sell out and we would run toward it. And so that's why we're here. And ultimately, my wife, man, in the balcony, second service, just began to sob before the Lord, saying, "This is home." And we're grateful for it.
I'm thankful for that. Do you remember when you came to my house the first time for dinner? Do you remember what you told me your vision was for Sage Hills, Wenatchee Valley? I don't want to put you on the spot if you can't remember. Do you remember?
I don't.
You told me that you wanted to see in your lifetime 10,000 souls saved.
Praise the Lord.
For the kingdom.
Yeah, man.
And I remember thinking, the boy doesn't know where he came. There's not that many folks in this town. We're going to have more folks come here to get them saved.
Yeah.
And I just remember you and Cassie left, and I distinctly remember turning to Sharon and saying, that is a man that I could link arms with to serve Jesus in our town for as long as the Lord would give us.
Praise the Lord.
And I think it was a month later I told you, I said, if you ever decide to leave, it'll be over my dead body.
Yeah, man.
And so, Mike, I'm grateful you're here, pastor in this church that I love, and in this valley that I love, and I respect you. I learn from you. I admire you, and I'm just super grateful to be here doing this with you, man.
Yeah,
I love you.
And all those sentiments are true for me as well. And when I think about Josh and Sharon and Grace City Church, I'm so thankful, like, not just for what Grace City is in our valley, because it's significant, but for a guy who's so anointed, so called, so blessed with this abundance of gifts to say, I'm going to be devoted to a town and a people. And I get to come in 34 or 5, I don't know, you're 50 now or something like that?
49.
40, into the process and jump into that story and just say, and I, like you said, I mean, I don't know, I didn't know anything about this place. I wanted to plant a church in Kashmir, and in my head assumed that there was 25,000 people there. But one of my staff members said,
maybe
actually,
cumulatively over the last 100 years.
3,500 people live there. And so I'm grateful for your history, your knowledge, and your devout call to the Wenatchee Valley. And it's an honor to partner with you in that endeavor.
I love you, buddy.
Love you too, man.